What happened in qualifying?
For the Miami Grand Prix.
Are we the fifth fastest car, really? We are here to reflect on a quali that once again, 2025, as I believe Fred Vasseur said, has become a qualifying season because we had a banger once again, didn't we, Tommy?
Yeah, quali delivered again, and every time we go into these sessions and go, it's McLaren's, they're going to win easily, and there's always someone there, whether it's Antonelli, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, that just pip them right at the end.
Let's start with Q1. At the bottom five were Hülkenberg, Alonso, Gasly, Stroll, and Behrman. One of the most confusing Q1 sessions in a while. And I know Q1 can sometimes be madness, right? You know, it's usually quite close and you're going, oh, really? Half a second separating 16 drivers? But this one was really odd, mainly because it just constantly chopped and changed. And the pecking order, even until the final laps,
made no sense.
It was completely jumbled up. It made no sense.
It didn't. We said this, when we were watching, that the way the sectors are all quite different made it kind of change throughout. That even if someone was unbelievable through the first sector, they might make a mistake in the second sector or do something, be a bit slower in there. And it just kept us guessing like the whole way, really.
It did. It really did. The fact that both Aston Martins were out, it's a shocker from Aston Martin. Alonso wasn't even really that close to making it through, over a tenth behind Nico Hülkenberg, who of course didn't make it, although looked very close to potentially being able to make it. But his teammate was the one that was cooking. But that's Q2. We're usually on to Bortoletto in Q1, but he's a whole nother segment. But yeah, I think obviously Aston Martin, big talking points. Gasly, what? Alpine? Excuse me?
Hello. Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, speaking of Alpine, I want to officially apologise to Jack Doohan in our Sprint Quali podcast that we said about the fact that, why was he so angry? On reflection now, I know a lot of you pointed it out, so thank you for that. He had every right to be upset with his team and the engineers and Gasly's side, and the fact that he was essentially blocked off. It was poor from Alpine and poor from us as well. So I'm sorry, Doohan. But Gasly P18 definitely. We're like, is this the Alpine from race one? What's going on?
What a weird kind of performance from Alpine and Gasly, who Bahrain was 2 races ago. He was 5th, I think he was, wasn't he, in qualifying? And now he's 18th. Just 2025 things, and how qualifying is just all over the place. But yeah, disappointing for Gasly. And
why has Behrman got so many P20s in him? Like, what? He's like, I've got another one in me. Like, why does he?
Why is he always doing like a great job where you're like, oh my god, Ollie Behrman, or he's last? I feel like that's the only two things that we've seen this year, and it always feels like Haas either can only ever have one car that does really, really well in qualifying, and the other one's kind of done badly, because Esteban Ocon, deserves a huge amount of credit for where he finished the session. But yeah, Behrman, a shocker.
F1 fans, the 2025 season is flying by and the championship is wonderfully close. But while drivers out there are blocking for position, all you should be worried about is defending against geo-restrictions. There's nothing worse than getting hit with a content block right when the action's heating up. Whether it's live coverage, team radio drama, or exclusive behind-the-scenes clips. That's where Surfshark VPN comes in. With Surfshark, you can unlock F1 coverage from anywhere in the world. Whether you're abroad during a race weekend or just want to access more features from home, Surfshark makes it easy. You get unlimited devices too, so your whole setup is protected from phone to smart TV. What's more, it keeps your data private, blocks annoying ads, and protects you on public Wi-Fi. It's like having a race engineer at your home. Right now, you can try Surfshark risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/P1 or use code P1 at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Let's go to Q2 then, where the bottom 5 are Hadjar, Hamilton, Bortoletto, Doohan, and Lawson. It's not fun right now being a Ferrari fan. I can give you full insight, being the 5th fastest car now. Hamilton was struggling in in the first initial phases of the sprint, had Albon all over him in those intermediate conditions. I think Ferrari did a phenomenal job, so did Hamilton, to utilise a really good strategy. But it was just an eye-opener again, a crash back down to reality for Hamilton and Ferrari, that he just looked nowhere throughout the entirety of Q2.
There was a moment where we were on board with his car and it looked like he was on an ice ring. You don't see Formula One cars much anymore where they're fighting the wheels so much because you're so used to them having so much grip and be able to throw it into corners. But yeah, there was this random onboard that we watched where Hamilton was absolutely fighting his car and like many made kind of a lock-up going into that final heavy braking zone, and it cost him big. And when that field is so close, a big mistake is going to cost you massive, and yeah, it definitely has for Hamilton.
Question from P1 Patreon member A Good Karen: is Doohan's bounce back today to outqualify his teammate proof rookies just need time? I wouldn't jump on that bandwagon just yet, just from this one performance, but what I will say is Doohan did a great job. And perhaps, we looked into, why was he so upset? And, the whole situation aside, I still stand by just how upset he was. I was sat there going, okay, I get the frustration, but it feels like there's more going on here. But perhaps it was just the fact that he had a good feeling around here and thought he might be able to outqualify his teammate, and he felt almost sabotaged in some ways in sprint quali. So Doohan has now translated that potential performance in sprint to a real one in main quali, and he should be very proud of himself. I know 14th isn't the greatest in terms, I don't think it's even his highest qualifying performance this year, but he's outqualified his teammate.
If he just gets it together, he can be on Gasly's pace or even the occasional out-qualifying him. And that is what's happened after, Doohan being able to bounce back after a really low moment. And, we're into round 6 now. And with the exception of Behrman, that's Hadjar, Bortoleto, Doohan, and Antonelli, all as rookies, out-qualified their teammates. And we know Behrman's also, of course, has had he's shown what he can do as well anyway. They've been very impressive. And speaking of rookies, I think Bortoleto up in 13th. Imagine for all the predictions of many people would have kind of said that Hamilton might be challenging for the championship this year. Imagine you said by round 6 Hamilton will be one place ahead of Bortoleto. It's not great reading, is it?
Wow. Somehow still managed to throw in some Ferrari slander there. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
What I'm saying is Bortoleto, that is a great performance from him.
It is, yeah. A man of the moment, I would say, Bortoleto up in 13th. A brilliant performance from him. And again, this is what teams can work with. As long as you see a performance in a driver, in a rookie, and they're not crashing every single week, there's something to work with. Like, you can mould them into a decent driver, whereas if they're just tootling around, consistently finishing 18th, 19th, 20th, there's not much you can do to move forward. Okay, we head to Q3. At the top 10 with Verstappen, Norris, Antonelli, Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Albon, Leclerc, Ocon, and Tsunoda. Max Verstappen on pole again. Come on. There is no way he should have been on pole. You saw Lando's hairpin. He mounted that curb and lost 10th and a half, 2/10, I reckon. Easy. I think that was pole in the bag for Lando. He makes that slight mistake. Max utilises his equipment almost perfectly and snatches pole again to set up a really exciting Miami race.
That session felt like it was, which McLaren's going to get pole, and can a Mercedes even sneak a surprise in? And he's done it again out of nowhere. And when they get in that window, you just know that Max can deliver something special. And oh my word, we've got 3 cars with 3 different teams separated by less than 1/10 of a second. We are in dreamland right now for qualifying. Like, please
they could follow. If
only they could follow. But qualifying is amazing. In fact, it's kind of felt like every qualifying session has been really close. And I'm going to read the gap to second from every single race this year. So first race in Australia, 0.08. Then we went to China. The gap was 0.08 again. The sprint was 0.01. The Japanese Grand Prix was 0.06. Saudi was 0.01. Bahrain was 0.07. Then we had the Miami sprint that was 0.04. And then the Miami main race today qualifying was 0.06. So
you're telling me there's not been a
never
tenth?
been over a tenth the whole season. Insane.
I knew it was close.
I know, and I looked back and I was like, "Is this
so
right? Am I
Added
tripping
that
here?"
all together, out of every single quali session, you're looking at like maybe 0.3 over the course, or like 0.4 across the entire year that we've had so far.
Yeah. It's mad. It's absolute madness. Yeah.
P1 Patreon member AMG Piper has come in with a question. Have McLaren dropped the ball in qualifying, or was it just a world-class performance from Max? I think both can exist. I think McLaren did drop the ball slightly, as I mentioned with Lando's mistake at the hairpin. But I also think Max is performing at a level that we have to just appreciate. And it's not like... McLaren aren't clear. They have the fastest car, in my opinion, by a tenth or two. But they have to get to that level every single week. Otherwise, you've got a driver like Max Verstappen that will just snatch it away from you. So you have to perform. There is still a huge amount of pressure. And this is what we're seeing. This is why the champions rise to the top. I was going to say cream, but I was going to say champions instead.
Even though McLaren have this great car and are doing well, they are making mistakes here and there. Both of them, of course, messing up on their lap. They should have been 1-2 today. And yeah, particularly, it was very clear to see that Lando, through that final corner, the final main corner, a big error, and he would have done it easily. And instead, he now has to start alongside Max Verstappen, who we know doesn't give an inch when it comes to the first corner. And that's going to be such a fascinating battle, because I think Lando needs to, for the good of his career and narrative around him, he kind of needs to get one over on Max, I think, based on everything that happened last year. And Max isn't going to want to give anything. We saw that even in the last race.
But on the flip side of that, in the landscape that is this 2025 season, Lando's main rival's behind him in Oscar Piastri, who he is ahead of at this stage. I would assume that Oscar's going to beat Kimi tomorrow. So, in the grand complex of the championship, Lando's gained 4 points on Oscar Piastri if they finish second and third tomorrow. And it is a net gain. But obviously, he's going to want to win as well. But it is a fascinating...
Are we writing off Max? That's the thing as well.
I think it's going to be hard for Max to win the championship. Let's not forget, he lost 8 points to Lando in the sprint, 7 points to Oscar in the sprint. He's now 19 behind Oscar in the championship, and it can very easily slip away. I don't think Max is going to be there every single week with the Red Bull. There's going to be times where it's just not quick enough compared to the McLaren. It's a beautiful championship. I can't wait for this storyline to continue to unfold. Speaking of storylines, but this one I really wish would just unfold or just cease to exist. P1 Patreon member Piano Juggler. Will it ever actually be Ferrari's year? That's actually hit me in the feels, that has. Charles Leclerc, one of the best qualifiers on the grid, has been out-qualified by both of the Williams drivers. Carlos Sainz, his good buddy, up in 6th. Charles Leclerc in P8.
Sainz has upgraded by going to Williams. Yeah,
you've got to bin it off now, Ferrari. Tommy has cooked you with his biggest flop of the year. He has done you in. We'll take a China sprint win for Lewis Hamilton, and we will cut it off there. No more resource spent this year. No more new parts. I don't care. We don't need to win Monaco. If we've built a car for Monza, I'll take it. I've lost everything, Tommy. I really have. I've lost all hope that Ferrari are going to win any main race this year. I genuinely don't see it.
Monaco?
No, they don't have they don't have the quali pace.
No, they don't.
Charles has got close. Don't get me wrong. And Saudi, I think he was pretty quick, wasn't he? But I just don't think they've got the grip and the performance in the car that they've rebuilt and redesigned for this year. And I'm now ruining the fact that they've done that.
We saw at the end of the season that Charles Leclerc was, I think, the last 7 races or something. The championship, if you just took those 7 races, Leclerc, Norris, and Verstappen were separated by barely anything. I think Leclerc might have even been ahead, at some of those kind of stages, and he was getting wins and things. And we've gone into a new season where there's not been a big regulation change. Ferrari have decided to change their entire car going for 1 year, and Lewis Hamilton is starting alongside Bortoletto in a Sauber.
Right, you said that once. That once is fine.
But that has to sink in.
Tommy.
They were there with McLaren, and it's unacceptable that they've gone into this next season, and they are nowhere. They got so bad that we're laughing at Carlos Sainz basically out-qualifying them and being quicker than them when we were saying that was one of the most disappointing moves to go from Ferrari to Williams, and he's laughing now.
Fire Breath asks, should Fred get sacked? I still don't understand why they decided to make a new car when they had one that could challenge for wins. There must have been reasons. I'm hoping actual logical reasons. I reckon they feel like they'd hit the performance ceiling with the car in 2024. I think you just accept that you've messed up and 25 is a really bad one. I will say that I am not going to start pointing fingers at Fred just yet. Love the bloke. Love the man. I couldn't think of anyone better to be leading Ferrari as a personality. I love him. Will I love him in 2026 when we roll out with the 7th fastest car? Maybe not. But no, I don't think we should be calling for him to be sacked just yet.
It's ridiculous to call for him to be sacked. This just screams football team that recycle through managers and then don't think that maybe it's a different problem that you're going through all these different managers. There's something more wrong with Ferrari than just making the team principal the scapegoat and going, get in the bin. Like there's something wrong there.
Okay, moving away and going to James R.J. Reeves' question. How impressed are you with Yuki Tsunoda at Red Bull? Both Red Bulls have made Q3 in 3 consecutive Grand Prix qualifying. I think impressed is probably a tiny bit strong. I think it's been a solid start for Yuki. He needs to progress from here, in my opinion. Like 10th on the grid, 7/10 off Max. For his own career, he needs to whittle that down to 3/10, in my opinion, in these qualifying sessions, and translate that into race pace as well. But it's definitely worthy of him staying there and developing for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
I think he's justified that they've made the right decision getting rid of Lawson because he's struggling again. Also had the incident in the sprint, and I don't think any other team you would be looking when the teammate is on pole that a P10 when you're behind a Haas is enough. And you're only just beating Hadjar, the rookie, in the team that you've left. We went into the season, and Lawson, after what happened, everything with Perez, and then Lawson, those first 2 races, that we were made to believe that car is completely undrivable and it's awful and is going to finish last every race, or it's a win to even get out of Q2 for that second Red Bull driver. So in that sense, to get P10, it's a lot more solid. And he deserves, some credit for getting there, but equally, I think you can't be like, oh my god, it's so impressive that Yuki Tsunoda's 10th because his teammates on pole. You can't kind of go that extreme. He's set, like 7/10 off, like you say. So there's a bit of balance there, I think.
And finally, I'm surprised you haven't really sort of sung it from the hills, but Kimi Antonelli, 3rd place, looking quicker than George Russell once again in qualifying. I really hope my flop doesn't come in for Kimi, because of course it didn't go well for him after the sprint quali. Still scored a couple of points after all the penalties, but he's got a great shout of 4th, I would say. Of course, Russell is going to try and get him back, I'm sure, as well. But could a podium be on the cards? It's going to be difficult with Oscar. But Mercedes is not far away this weekend. So the dream is on.
He's shown that it wasn't just like a flash in the pan yesterday. Because maybe, whether it's fair or unfair, I think a lot of people looked at, and this is a question we got yesterday, that you looked at Antonelli's pole and the fact that Russell didn't go out again, that maybe George could have got pole if he
maybe had a bit more in the locker.
And had more in the locker, but he's looked quicker than George this weekend, and it's amazing what he's doing, and definitely could challenge for the podium. It just depends how Max does, because I do think the McLarens are going to be incredibly quick in the race. I could see them being 1-2 again, and it just depends if Max can hang on, and how aggressive Antonelli's going to be at the start after what happened last time in the sprint, and us saying maybe take it a little bit easy. I don't think that competes with Kimi Antonelli's like Max Verstappen in that sense, and I'm here for it.
Right, that is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this quali recap. Cannot wait for the race tomorrow. It is going to be, fingers crossed, pretty exciting, at least from a strategic element. I'll have a few overtakes as well. Get a super sub from K-Mag just to give us a few more dive bombs, maybe. Tommy, what would you say your final thoughts are?
My final thought is it's rare before we finish the pod that I can clarify something from earlier. But I don't know how I managed this, but in the qualifying roundup of all the results, I did get one result wrong, which was Bahrain was actually a 10th and a half, which was the biggest gap by a mile. So I'm so sorry. But
so you realise that all the mathematicians would have already put that.
I've already put in the comments.
And they're saying Lom Lellingham has no idea about using a calculator or using his eyes. Unbelievable. Right, well, good. Well, that will boost the engagement on the video. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.
Goodbye.